So we're looking at that who we think are going to be the top five NFL MVPs, Offensive Player of the Year, and also Defensive Player of the Year.
Got it.
How do you want to start off? Do you want to start off in tiers, or do you want to start off with like most likely to?
I did a little bit of research, so I might have a little bit more to add. I want to start off with MVP, and we'll go from 5 to 1.
Okay.
And but first, I looked at the past history of the MVP.
Yeah.
So out of the last 13 years, 12 of them have been quarterbacks. There's been
Yeah, I think the last non-quarterback was Adrian Peterson in 2012.
2012. We got
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson. That was his 2,000-yard season. He also
Yeah.
had 13 touchdowns that year. Uh,
Monster.
do you know the last time a defensive player won MVP? 1987. Can you take a wild
19,
guess?
1987?
Yep.
Who was that? No, that's in 1986.
Who? Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah, that's 86.
Okay.
87 was Elway.
Were you looking on Sports Reference?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I have Adrian Peterson 2013, and so I'm a year ahead of you. I don't know if they're counting towards the end or what it is.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I think they're starting the beginning of the year instead
okay.
of going the end of it.
Yep.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, I got Lawrence Taylor. Damn.
That was his 20 sack season. So most
Do you think
likely,
there's an NFL player in the NFL today that can win the defensive player?
I have a couple down there.
Okay.
So next I wanted to get into was pretty much the criteria for winning, what it takes for winning. So
Okay.
I did it by position. Quarterbacks, to me, it looks like the most important thing for quarterbacks is winning. You can't be on a losing team and
Mm-mm.
put up stats and still win it. So number one is wins. Number two is yards and touchdowns. And number three is a low amount of interceptions. So
Yeah.
if you're a top team and you lead in yards and touchdowns, most likely you're going to be in that top three MVP candidate type thing.
All right. All right.
Next was running backs.
Okay.
It pretty much takes 2,000 yards to win the MVP. So Adrian Peterson did his 2,000 yards, or we have second was 28 plus touchdowns. That happened with LaDainian Tomlinson and Sean Alexander. They both had over 28 touchdowns in a season. So it takes a lot for running back to even have a shot. One guy that didn't rush for 2,000 yards but also won it was Marshall Faulk. But he had 2,000 yards plus in receiving and rushing combined and 26 touchdowns. So
Christian McCaffrey can be knocking at that door if his team gets.
exactly. Yep. We might be talking about him a little later. Wide receivers, the past, what I looked all the way back to the early 80s, wide receivers never won. So it'll take a lot for them. To me, it seems like the quarterback usually steals it if they do. So I have
I
them.
have a dark horse. I have a dark horse at MVP for
Okay,
he's a receiver too. So
nice. So in 2008, Randy Moss. These were just two of the best years that I remember wide receivers having, and they
yeah,
still didn't win it. Randy Moss, 98 catches, 1,493 yards, 23 touchdowns. But Tom Brady won it that year. That was his quarterback.
yeah,
That's 2008. And then 2013, Calvin Johnson, 122 catches, 1,964 yards, but he only had 5 touchdowns that year. And Adrian Peterson won it that year with his 2,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. So if
yeah. So you
Adrian
got to be.
Peterson didn't go off that year, it probably would have been Calvin. But
Yeah, you got to be in. You got to get in that end zone to kind of get your name recognized.
and Matt Stafford had a good year that year. They just had no wins, so he wasn't even in the conversation with Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
Tight end has never won. We got Gronk 2013 had 90 catches, 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns. That just I don't know. That's a great year, and I don't think that's going to win it over these guys that are putting up 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. And that year is 2013. Aaron Rodgers won it that year. So,
Yeah.
O-line, it would take a miracle for anyone to win it. The closest thing I found was Joe Thomas. He played every snap, 100% of the snaps.
Okay.
Only gave up 2 sacks and only had 2 penalties the whole year, and there was no way he was even in the top 10. So good luck to the offensive linemen.
I'd say the closest guy to that is probably Quentin Nelson, but I don't think anyone's looking at a guard.
Yeah, a guard would be really tough. That would be, you got to play 100 snaps, no penalty. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if that would take, if that would do it. So that's pretty much the history of quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight end, and offensive line. I also I wanted to get on Vegas's odds for winning it.
There you go. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. So go ahead and if you can read who they have most likely to win it.
Most likely to win it,
yeah.
Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. Okay.
The top 11 are all quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott are the top 5. You don't touch on running backs until number 12, and that'd be Christian McCaffrey. So we mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Number 19 is Derrick Henry, which we'll see. I don't know if he'll be up there this year. It's hard. It's hard winning back-to-back rushing titles. There's only been one person to do it the last 20 years, and that was LaDainian Tomlinson. He also lost Jack Conklin to Cleveland, so his line got a little weaker. So we'll see. Number 21 is Saquon Barkley, who he's a 100 catch, 100 or 1,000 yard type of guy. So I think he has a chance if all things go his way.
They beefed up that line with their first pick with Andrew Thomas, who I think it was the most pro-ready. Wasn't my favorite tackle in the draft, but I think that they definitely helped him out. I mean, putting him right next to, Will Hernandez and just have him run right behind them I think it's going to be a force to reckon with. And especially with him being so elusive and durable already.
Yeah, he has the talent.
Definitely increases his chances.
Number 28, Dalvin Cook. I wouldn't put my money on him, especially with his injury history.
No.
The Vikings, we saw in the year they're bringing in Matson and Ham to come in and spare him, so I could see that going in. And really, it's just a longevity thing. He's never proven to do it. And then the number 5 running back, number 29 overall, Zeke. If I had to bet on one guy, I think it'd be him with those odds, number 29. He has a good O-line. He's rushed for 1,600 yards before. He's had a 77 catch year, which that's pretty damn good. He needs to elevate his touchdowns, though, from 16 is his highest in the 24, 25, 26 range, kind of like who Marshall Falk did, and he won it that year. So we'll see. Out of the top 30, there's no wide receivers in there.
Okay. All right. So let's try to get into our top 5. Who we think is going to, who you want to see it, who you think is going to get it.
Let me hit these defensive guys real quick.
Oh, for MVP, they have defensive guys in there?
Yeah, they have defensive guys in there. So
here's
the top 4. At number 31, Nick Bosa. So of course, with a great rookie year, he has a chance to step it up and lead
my guy right there.
So we'll see. Number 2, Aaron Donald, which I know he's had a 20-sack season, but damn, it's hard to lead the league in sacks from defensive tackle. Not saying he can't do it. It's tough. Number 3, J.J. Watt at 34. I kind of think J.J. Watt's time has passed. He's getting up
Yeah,
there with injuries, age, and it'll be tough for him to do it.
I love the guy. I love what he's done for Houston and that city and whatnot. But I just think that I don't know. I think little brother might
Yep,
be outshining him. I think
definitely.
JJ might be the better Watt right now. And yeah, JJ, he just can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the field, and you can't produce if you're not on the field. So
True.
I think that's what wrecks him. I mean, yeah, he can, you know, possibly take up some blocks, but that's pretty much about it. What he can do for right now.
Exactly. And the last guy for defensive players is Khalil Mack, who
Okay.
we've seen Khalil Mack, be all pro at two positions. He has the talent. He just needs to produce. They did add Robert Quinn to the team to maybe cut back on some of those double teams and take the focus away. But uh, yeah, I think he has a better shot than J.J. Watt. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think maybe JJ Watt got on there, maybe mainly because of his name. I
Yeah,
mean, I
Vegas
mean,
trying to get you to bet.
I wouldn't have put him in there. I would honestly wouldn't even put Khalil Mack in there with the year he had. Yeah, you can say that you can push him out there because they had Robert Quinn. To touch on your point, yeah, it will take away some double teams, but I don't know. I just feel he needs to prove it a little bit more. I would even add in, maybe the guys from LA Chargers, Ingram and Bosa for sure. I mean, Bosa had, I think, 11 and a half sacks last year,
Yep.
and he just, still on a tear, so I'd add them in for sure. I mean, the defensive player last year was a corner. I'm
Yep.
just surprised there's no corners in there or safeties.
Corner is tough. You really got to be a turnover monster. And it was hard for me to find a corner that I thought you got to be a lockdown corner and have a lot of turnovers. So uh,
Okay.
that's a tough one. So I'm ready to get into my number 5 MVP candidate.
All right. Who you got? You read your number 5. I'll read my number 5. And we'll
You
go on
got
there.
it. I was looking through. I had about 4 guys that I thought could fit into this number 5 spot, but I ultimately ended up going with the GOAT, Tom Brady. I just feel
Oh,
like
that's okay.
I
He's
just
on my
feel
list. He's on my list as well. Okay.
okay. I just feel like he has some of the best weapons he's ever had. He has his
Yes.
boy Gronk back to team up with Mike Evans for some red zone production, so his
Exactly.
touchdowns can go through the roof. Running back situation there is not the best, so I could see them throwing it a lot.
I
And
think it's underrated for sure. I really think it's underrated. I always was a fan of Ronald Jones.
yep,
Who else do they got back there for him? I mean, they picked up 2 rookies too that I think are pretty solid with Vaughn and also uh, they got Vaughn and the kid from Louisiana,
okay.
and I think he's underrated. I think they're speedsters, so I think they're pretty much got the James White type of running backs that he's used to.
And
So
there it is. It's going to be he loves his pass catching running back, so I could see them producing even more offense for him in that way. Uh,
exactly.
Bruce Arians' offense is proven to produce top stat guys, and if he wins, as in wins for the whole team overall, then I just think the NFL will love it, and he'll be up there top 3.
All right. So I'm going to my number 5. He plays for one of the toughest divisions in the game right now, which is the NFC West. And no, it's not Jimmy G, but it's Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, I mean, if the past 2 MVPs, I believe they're in the second year stint, and they take off and they win it. He just got weapons all around him, for sure. They're bringing in Kenyon Drake back. He already has a good rapport with him. They got their, short slot receiver in Andy Isabella. That that offense is set to, take your numbers, and skyrocket them. And plus, they just got my favorite receiver in the game today, in New Hopkins, for next to nothing. They dumped that. David Johnson contract on the Texans,
Yep.
and they bring in New Hopkins to pair with another great vet, stand-up dude in Larry Fitz. Plus they got the Hakeem Butler. They still got Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, I just think it's set up great for him. They beefed up the line a little bit. with their third-round draft pick, and who I thought was going to be drafted in the first round was Josh Jones. You say that one of the credentials is they have to get they have to be a good team, and they've definitely beefed up their defense as well with their draft picks. Not going to get into that one right now, but yeah, I think Kyler Murray for sure. I think he's more comfortable. Another year in the offense is going to be standout. So who do you got at number 4?
Number 4, I got Dak Prescott.
Same here. He's actually my number 4 as well. Go ahead.
Got it. Last year he was number 2 in yards, number 4 in touchdowns. So that checks off the touchdown and yards criteria. He has a top 5 offensive line. He adds rushing touchdowns, so he'll have probably around 5-6 rushing touchdowns from goal line keepers and stuff like that. He added more wide receiver help. We know CeeDee Lamb drafted in the first round, but to me, it's ultimately they must win. They got to be one of those top teams. Give me 10, 12, 13 wins, and he'll be up there in the MVP candidate if he could hit those numbers again.
I definitely see Zeke's numbers going down and Pollard's numbers going up. I like Pollard in the backfield a lot. I like his game. Zeke, I mean, last year he's coming back from Cabo, looking a little bit out of shape, not looking like the right Zeke. So if he comes to true form, I think what they should do, since they paid him a lot of money, is kind of spell him a little bit and, make him worth that money. Yeah, like you said, CeeDee Lamb, he's definitely going to be opening that box for sure for them. So they can't really just stack the box and just say, try to run it. And like you said, he's one of the top 3 in passing yards. So, I mean, that only goes from there. All right. So who do you got at number 3?
Number 3, I got Russell Wilson.
Okay.
He's been very impressive the last few years. He has a great arm, probably the best accuracy, up there with Aaron Rodgers. He was my number 1 leader for MVP for the first half of last year until our boy Lamar Jackson just took over and was killing it. But he was also number 2 in touchdowns. He's number 3 in interception percentage the last 2 years. So he's just very consistent. You know what you're getting. He's not going to make mistakes, and he's going to put up some numbers.
All right, yeah. All right, so my number 3 is actually Tom Brady. Pretty much all the points that you touched on, and one thing that he shined on, I mean, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but last time we had 2 tight ends, I mean, those 2 tight ends were unstoppable. So what I'm hoping is that O.J. Howard just gets the O.J. Howard that we expected to be coming out of Alabama. Another year in that offense will make him a little bit more comfortable. And plus, he's around, a solid dude like Gronk and, Tom Brady, one of the, like you said, he's the GOAT. So he's definitely my number 3. It was definitely hard because it was either going to be – I wanted to get one veteran in there for sure, and it was either going to be him or Drew Brees, and I just can't not get the GOAT. So, Drew Brees actually was my number 6. So, all right. So, who do you got at number 2?
Number 2, Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
If he continues improving the passing like he did last year, I think he's a lock to be a top 3 candidate. He already had a 43 touchdown season. That's combined rushing and passing last year. Over 1,000 yards rushing. I mean, if he does another 1,000 yards plus 3,500 yards passing, I think he'll be a lock to be in there because the touchdowns will be there, and he's just electric and can do it.
I think it's safe to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, that our top 2 are the same. I have Lamar Jackson as well as my number 2. In the draft, they added J.K. Dobbins, who's just another weapon, just another threat. I mean, I think he is better than Mark Ingram. He will be better. Probably give him, some time, and I think he'll get the starter role in there. He was my running back number 1, and what they also did is add him some more help at the receiver position in Devin Duvernay, hook him. And then they also added James Prochet. James Prochet, he had magnet for hands. That guy, isn't the tallest, but he'd go up and just grab it like he was 6'2" or some sort. He had little to no drops, and when he was playing for SMU. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that they lost is Hayden Hurst, but they brought in Jacob Breland from Oregon as an undrafted free agent, who I think is gonna turn some heads over there at Baltimore.
Yep.
So I'm guessing number one is the same as mine, Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly, Patrick Mahomes. I
mean, his offense is returning.
Yep.
He lost nobody, even in the coaching staff. They lost nobody. I mean, I think they added, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think that guy's a stud. Definitely got their Westbrook in Andy Reid's offense. So
Yep.
If you want to go expand a little bit more on Patrick Mahomes, go ahead.
He's the top talent. He has the best arm in the league. He's had 50 touchdowns already, so it's proven he could put up the numbers. Great receiving core, new running back. I just think the running back will even open up more because last year he had barely any help with the running game, and he was still doing it. So if he didn't get hurt last year, he probably would have been it again. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes, number one. I think everyone pretty much has that across the board. Did you have any? Well, you already said Drew Brees is your number 6. Did you have anyone else that was going to squeak in there that you considered?
I mean, in mine, I didn't have Russell Wilson in mind. I think he can definitely squeak in there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Seahawks are so hard to figure out. I mean, they don't really have much talent, but they have just enough to squeak by. And then, Russ is Russ. I mean, he's just going to do Russell Wilson things. Russell Wilson things. Another guy that I can think maybe squeeze in there if everything goes right is Matt Ryan. He definitely can have MVP year. I mean,
He's done it before. Yep.
They've done it before. I'd say my dark horse is Matt Ryan. So, what about you?
There were 3 that I wanted to consider, but I couldn't throw them in there. Aaron Rodgers. I just think his offense has changed so much that I don't see him putting up the numbers that's needed to be. He's definitely capable of doing it, but it's just a different offense. Christian McCaffrey. It's so hard to beat out these quarterbacks. They'd have to get injured or something like that. But Christian McCaffrey could have one of those Adrian Peterson or Marshall Faulk years where 2,000 total yards, 20 touchdowns, and give these guys a run for their money. And
he's durable too. So, I mean,
really and one last guy that I wanted to consider, it's just everything seems to be going against him this year, is Deshaun Watson. He has the talent, man. His coach is just working against him, trading away D-Hop, and I can't see him doing it without the weapons that he had, and it sucks.
I just don't understand that move by Houston. I mean, that's a different topic for a different day. But Watson, talented since Clemson. I mean, he's a winner. So.
We'll save that for the coaches pod.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. So let's move into offensive players of the year.
I wanted to jump in. Same thing that I did last. I wanted to go over just the history and then Las Vegas numbers. So the past 20 years, offensive player of the year, it's a little more diverse. 9 quarterbacks, 10 running backs, and 1 wide receiver, who was Michael Thomas last year. So they do mix it up a little bit more than MVP. I did see from 1996 to 2003 were 9 straight years of running backs, which was pretty impressive. And which is even more impressive, 4 of those were Marshall Faulk, and 3 of them were Terrell Davis. So those guys were just killing it those years. But the last wide receiver to win it before Michael Thomas, Jerry Rice, 1994. So wide receivers just they get shafted in these offensive player of the year and MVP voting things. But
Dang, looking at this MVPs or the offensive players of the year, and I'm just looking at two running backs that are definitely, I feel, still underrated in Jamal Lewis and Priest Holmes.
yep, yep,
They're just workhorses. I mean,
exactly.
that's crazy.
The Vegas numbers, they're almost identical to the MVP, but it's Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Christian McCaffrey. Those are the top five. So McCaffrey ended up squeezing in there, but it's pretty much the same.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready
All right.
for number 5. You don't got anything else to add?
All right, go ahead with your number 5. Yeah, go ahead.
Number 5, Ezekiel Elliott. He's 6 yards away from having 2,000 plus yard seasons, so that's one of the criteria, 2,000 yards. He has a 77 catch season, so he's capable of getting some reception stats. He can combine to do 2,000 plus yards, 75 receptions, and crosses 20 touchdowns. I think he'll be right up in there with it. The receiving core this year should open up the box and allow him to produce a little bit more. And he'll always get the opportunity. They'll always feed him the ball and give him the touches.
All right, my number 5. I don't know if he can repeat, but I'm going to go with Michael Thomas. He's my number 5. I want to see some blood in there for sure, but I mean, the addition of Emmanuel Sanders to the New Orleans Saints is just, a good thing. I mean, I think that'll open up so much more for Michael Thomas, and they also added, Juwan Johnson to increase number 3 receiving position for sure, and also Adam Tatum. So I think that will relieve a lot less pressure off of Michael Thomas, and he can just do good things what he did last year.
Got it. All right, my number 4, I got Christian McCaffrey. I mean, last year he had a monster year. Over the last 3 years, he's led all running backs in reception and reception yards. In that same time, he's a top 5 in rushing yards. So he puts up the stats, he puts up the production, he'll be up there. And a cool stat that I found, if he was a wide receiver, he'd be number 2 in receptions the last 3 years, only behind DeAndre Hopkins. So he puts up wide receiver numbers as a running back and is top 5 in rushing yards. I couldn't leave him off this list.
Christian McCaffrey is actually he's actually my number 1.
Okay.
I definitely want to see him get his. I mean,
yep.
He's on the Panthers, and I just, I want to see him for sure.
Got it. Who's your number 4?
I'm going to go with a little bit of a homer here, but my number 4 is definitely Deebo Samuel.
Okay.
I think Deebo Samuel is going to step up in a big way. Seeing what he's doing with, with the ball, especially yards after the catch. And not only that, Kyle Shanahan, I think, is going to get a little bit more comfortable with him and utilize him same way he did last year. I mean, they brought in Brandon Ayuk. They still got Kendrick Bourne. If Jalen Hurd and Trent Taylor, come with it this year, like I hope they can. If not, they drafted Juwan Jennings as well. But honestly, bringing in all those weapons still, and plus the fear of the 49ers running game, I think it'll open up a lot more things for Deebo Samuel, and he'll be trusted with a lot more. And I think he recognized and respected the work ethic of Emmanuel Sanders when Emmanuel Sanders was traded, and I think that'll carry on next year. All right, for number 3, who do you got?
Number 3, Russell Wilson. Pretty much the same as the MVP. He's just been killing it the last few years. He was up there for the MVP voting last year. He's as consistent as it gets, and Russell Wilson's my number 3.
Actually, yeah, that's who I got at number 3 as well, as Russell Wilson. For sure. I mean, like I said, Russ is Russ. He's going to win. they haven't had a losing season since he's been there. DK Metcalf is coming on strong, and I just think they're going to do good things there. I mean, they got a plethora of tight ends to choose from, and especially picking up Colby Parkinson, which is a big red zone target for him. So I think that's going to be solid. All right, so who do you got number 2?
My number 2 and number 1 I'm going to kind of combine here because if one wins the MVP, I could see the other one getting Offensive Player of the Year, and it's the same as the MVP voting. Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, both of those guys are just going to put up crazy numbers, and if they both stay healthy, I can see them splitting these awards here for the next couple years.
All right, yeah. So obviously, I said my number 1 was Christian McCaffrey. My number 2 is Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees, with the same thing I said before, why he's just slipped away. I mean, I wanted to add him, but I can't when I'm going against Tom Brady. I don't think that he can do it. I think he's going to beat Tom Brady out, especially with how conservative Tom Brady is with the ball. I mean, yeah, Drew Brees does that at that quick release, and also the addition of Emmanuel Sanders is actually key for him.
Yeah, I've been waiting for them to get a number 2 wide receiver for a long time. During fantasy football, I'm always looking who's going to be the second in target, and it's just so inconsistent that I'm glad they got Emmanuel Sanders to help out Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. So, yeah, that's a good one.
All right, if you want to go ahead and go over the previous winners of the Defensive Players of the Year and also the
criteria, and I'll do the Vegas stuff.
Yep, go ahead.
So the last 20 years, it's been 10 defense linemen, 5 DBs, and 5 linebackers. So most of them have been defensive linemen, but they spread the love in this category. Yeah. The criteria for winning seems to be for D linemen, sacks. You just got to produce sacks, and it seems like 20 plus is what the number's at. DBs, it's turnovers. So if you can get forced fumbles, interceptions, just get your hand on the ball, you have a chance to be up there. And for linebackers, you got to be a tackling machine. So you got to just be making plays all over the field. So all the linebackers had 100+ tackles, and yeah, that's pretty much the criteria for winning this one. The way Vegas has it, number 1, Aaron Donald. Number 2, Nick Bosa. Number 3, T.J. Watt. Number 4, Khalil Mack. Number 5, J.J. Watt. 6 and 7 are Stephon Gilmore, who won it last year, and Joey Bosa, number 7. And I wanted to throw in 6 and 7 because out of the top 7, there's 2 Bosas and 2 Watts. So they're taking out 4 of the 7. So pretty impressive families.
All right, I'm going to kick it off with my number 5. Going to keep it in the family. I'm going to go with little brother Nick Bosa. He's on my Niners. I mean, you see what kind of force and pressure he brought last year. They brought in young blood next to him with Kinlaw. I just think that Nick Bosa is going to continue what he did, the previous year in his rookie year. It's enough said. I mean, last year he's just, constantly getting pressure. I think the best game I've seen him play was honestly against, the Carolina Panthers. He got in there, got multiple sacks, a pick, and he went stride for stride with Christian McCaffrey on an off-a-wheel route, which is on an audible that we call defensively, which is pretty impressive. But Nick Bosa for sure at my number 5.
Got it. My number 5 is one of my favorite defensive players, Jamal Adams. He's the one DB that I have on this list. The guy just makes plays all over the field. He's top 5 in all these categories for DBs, that's safeties and corners combined. Tackles for loss, QB hits, forced fumbles, and fumble recoveries. So if he could just add in some more turnovers in there, which needs to be interceptions, if he can get a good amount of interceptions this year, I could see him being up there, ready to win this.
I went DB as well. four. My number four is also an LSU guy, and Tre'Davious White, actually. Tre'Davious White, he had 6 interceptions in this league. Let's see, in 2008, he only had 2. In 2017, he had 4. But I think in 2020, it's going to rise again because, I mean, they're not. I just feel like he's due for a breakout year. I mean, even more so than what he already had. He's not scared to tackle. He doesn't give that much yards, and he can lock down your favorite receiver for sure. All right, so who do you got at number 3?
Number 4. I haven't done my number 4 yet. Number 4, I have Shaquille Barrett. Looking back, pretty impressive year. He led the league in QB hits and sacks, and he is number 2 in tackles for loss. So those are the numbers I look for a defensive lineman: hits, sacks, and tackles for loss. That to me, it's not a coincidence that he was up there producing that much when he's hitting all those stats. This year too, if Tampa Bay has a bigger lead with Tom Brady and their new offense, then I think he'll have more opportunities to rush the passer. So along with that, he's just great bend, great twitch. He has the talent. Shaquille Barrett, number 4.
All right, so for my number 3, I'm going to go with Joey Bosa. Big Nick Bosa, obviously. Yep. Solo tackles and 1 forced fumble. I think I mean, let's see. I'm trying to look at the quarterback hits. Quarterback hits, he had 31. Tackle for losses, he had 18. I mean, he's going to continue what he's doing, and I don't think they really lost anybody on the defensive line, and he's just continuing to grow. And I honestly think that push from his little brother is going to give him a little bit more spark, knowing how good Nick did in his rookie year, and I think honestly he's due to top that. All right, who you got at number 3?
Number 3, I got Nick Bosa.
Okay.
I just think he has the ability to lead the NFL in sacks, to produce those numbers, to get up to the 20 range. He's going to be on a top 3 team. So I think the Niners are going to be very good this year. They didn't lose many players. With this quarantine and lack of practice, I see Ravens, Chiefs, Niners is still being right on top. They're going to bring back pretty much the same team minus 1 or 2 starters and fit right in and be at the top of their game. His rookie year was amazing. I just think sky's the limit with this guy. He was top 5 in QB hits. He just needs to improve in categories like sacks and tackles for loss, and he could do it. So there's no doubt that he could do it. It's just putting it all together year 2.
Sure. For my number 2, I got T.J. Watt. T.J. Watt just continues to grow to be a stud. He's outshining his brother J.J. He's got, let's see, last year he had 55 combined tackles, 20 assisted, 14.5 sacks, 2 interceptions. He's going to continue to grow. I don't think they lost anybody again on that defense, and that defense is always strong.
Yep.
You can always count on a Pittsburgh defense to be strong. I think adding more tools and giving this time to just kind of reflect and whatnot with the coronavirus, everything that's been going around. I think he's just going to still be a stud. You can't take that work ethic away from him. So I don't think he's going to lose a step. If anything, he's going to get better.
Sounds good. So my number 2, this one might surprise. I just think he's past due and continuously puts up good numbers. I got Chandler Jones.
He's actually my number 1.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Yeah,
well,
actually my number 1, yeah.
And Vegas didn't even have him in the top 10, I believe. So definitely not in the top 7. But Chandler Jones, past due, man. Last 3 years, he's number 1 in sacks by 10. So by far, he's number 1 in sacks, number 2 in tackles for a loss, number 3 in quarterback hits. number 2 in forced fumbles. He's 30 years old this year, and this might be his last opportunity to go out there and show the world what he has. But Chandler Jones, man, I think it's past due. He's been putting up numbers like this for a long time, and yeah, that's my number.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that for sure. I mean, what they also did in the draft is they added Liki Fotu and also Rashard Lawrence, and I think those guys are going to be doing is definitely playing 5-tech. They're going to be eating up blockers. I mean, if you look at Rashard Lawrence, what he did at LSU, those lanes that got open for like Patrick Queen and Chason was actually created by Rashard Lawrence, and I think that Chandler Jones is going to definitely cash in on those opening lanes that are going to be there for him. So I think that he's going to have actually a breakout year. It sucks to say because he's been going against my Niners, but he's a stud. I mean, that whole family is just great athletes. So if you want to go ahead and say your number 1, go ahead.
My number 1's T.J. Watt. He was already on your list, but number 3 in sacks, number 2 QB hits, number 1 in forced fumbles. I mean, it's not a coincidence that he put up those numbers. The boy can get to the quarterback, and what I even think is more impressive is he doesn't even pass rush every down. He drops into coverage. He does other things. So if they really focused him on rushing the passer and getting to the ball, then T.J. Watt.
All right.
Did you do your number 2?
Yeah, did not. My number 2. Yeah, my number 2 was TJ.
Okay.
Yeah, my number that was I was correct. My number 2. My number 2 is TJ. I mean, pretty much all the points that you said on. I mean, I just think that he's gonna be better.
You got it. So next, I think we will maybe do the best additions, counting the NFL draft, free agency, and signings and stuff like that.
Okay.
But that's about it. Episode 1.1.
1.1 in the books. More to come.